How do I pick the right price to market my home?
How do I keep from making the wrong price?
Oh, yeah. On pricing, this market that we've been in, really since 2019, even prior to COVID, we were in multiple offer situations, otherwise known as bid wars.
Bid wars, yeah.
And this is unlike a market you've ever seen in your lifetime.
It's unlike a market our parents have ever seen. Because I remember the way our parents would have thought of it is, we're going to ask this, but we would take that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Most of the time, people,
that's the way it was. Yeah.
We used to price with negotiating room.
Right.
This is unlike any market you have ever seen, because we have low supply and high demand. Right. It is a supply and demand problem. First of all, pricing is like 90% of your marketing strategy. You don't think of pricing as marketing, but it is. It's not rocket science. The buyers are comparing these same homes to you.
Statistical data.
Okay.
Numbers.
We know as realtors what really trips a buyer's trigger, what the colors and staging do, how to market it photography-wise. If you price your house reasonable, you look at the comps and everybody else is sold at $400,000. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh, this guy had a much updated kitchen and he sold at $415,000, and this guy didn't have as nice updated kitchen as me and he sold at $390,000. I'm probably somewhere in the middle at $400,000. Okay. If you price reasonable, and since your first showing is online,
right,
not in person, it is online.
That's different from our parents' market too.
That's right.
Yeah.
And people look online not only to pick homes to see, but also to eliminate. If your marketing's great online and the price matches its condition and it looks like a good value, then you're going to have a lot of people who want to come see it. What you want to do is get that reasonable price going, your first showing online, to trip everybody's emotional triggers and say, I must go see that house. If I have at least 20 showings in a weekend, during COVID it was 100, then it was 50, then it was 30 consistently. Now it's 10 to 30, depending on your house and your price point.
Which is still a lot.
It's still a lot in one weekend compared to the markets we're used to. If I get a lot of people in that house and there's a firestorm around that house, and there's, by the way, you want to allow overlapping showings. As many people in the house as you can get at one time is great, unless you got a super small house. So when they see all that activity and they like the house, then they're like, oh man, this one's going to go. But if you start reasonable and they tack the 20, 30 on in their brain, and they're like, yeah, I'm willing to go 20, 30 grand over because it's priced so well, don't ask me. It's called the fear of missing out. Once you get the Firestorm, you get a lot of people in. They like it. You know there's going to be multiple offers. The benefit of multiple offers to a seller is this. A, I'll buy your house. I don't care what it appraises for. Right. Or I'll buy your house and I'll bring 10 grand to the closing if the appraisal's 10 grand low. Inspections. Either A, I won't have them. B, I will have them, but I won't ask you to fix anything. Or C, I'll have them and I won't ask you to fix anything under a certain dollar amount. Usually $2,500, sometimes as high as $5,000. I'm not going to nitpick you. I'm just looking for a major problem, like a roof or a furnace not working, right? So you get all the other improved terms in a contract that then eliminate the ability for the buyer to pick your pocket on the way to closing.
Right.
If you don't go in the first weekend or the first 30 days, then people do kind of start to wonder what's going on with the house. Just be reasonable with your price. It's not rocket science once you have the appropriate comparables and you have the appropriate statistics for your area of how much of a buyer or seller market it is.
And don't try and do this yourself. It's too difficult.
But I'm telling you, the bid wars are fun. They're very fun for sellers. You just have to market your position for it. How do you predict the future?
To predict the future, you need a DeLorean. You need the flux capacitor. You need a crazy scientist friend, and you go to the future, and then you come back, and then you can tell the future.
I see.
So the point is, you can't predict the future. Nobody knows the future.
Nobody knows the future. Well, are there some signs that we can look at maybe to help predict the real estate market here in St. Louis?
Definitely, and I think you can look at trends, which I know you do a great job of this. The data nowadays is so accessible, a lot more data, and it's available a lot quicker.
Well, let's just talk about data. So numbers, they are the language of real estate.
They really are, and if your real estate agent isn't talking numbers, then You
Yeah,
need
if your
somebody that
realtor is
understands them.
mimicking national news, you might be a little bit in trouble. So let's, let's have a little analogy here. So, national stock market, it's going down, it's going down, it's going down.
Right.
You know, the house is burning down. I'm like,
Yes.
oh my God, I gotta go sell my stock. But your stock that you really have in your portfolio is maybe an AI stock or a Bitcoin or
Maybe utility or
right?
something local,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
and you're like, that one's going up. So do I want to sell it just because the national market's going down? No. All right, and so that is the difference between your national numbers
Right.
and your local numbers, right? And so we're able to look at a few key numbers, statistics,
Sure.
metrics, right, to figure it out.
And there's really,
right?
really basically two types of markets in real estate. There's the buyer's market, which means there's more homes for sale than there's more homes for sale than there are buyers. And then
There
there's
you
seller's
go.
market to where there's more buyers than there are
Then
sellers.
more buyers. It's simple
And-
supply demand.
And we've been in the seller's market, I mean, the market favors the seller for how long now?
Oh, going on 11 years now. Since
11
2015.
years,
Yeah.
the market is favored the seller, and that's why we've seen this crazy appreciation.
What is the actual key statistics? Well, there is actual an inventory number, how many homes are on the market. Then there is the month supply. And month supply basically is if all the homes stayed on the market, all the homes that are on the market right now, nothing new came on.
Right.
How long would it take for those to sell, for the market to absorb those homes that are for sale?
Okay.
Right? And so that's called month supply. So when we look at month supply, where anything under 5 months, really 6 months, is considered a seller's market. A buyer's market's anything outside of that. Now, there's another key metric that we use when we're looking at the supply versus demand. How do we gauge the demand, right? Now we know what the supply is. What's the demand? The month supply absorption rate kind of tells us what demand is, but there's another number, and then we use that, and that is the number of homes that are on the market now, actively selling and showing, right? Let's just say there's 12 of them in your zip code.
Okay.
And in your price point even, right? And your 50 grand spread price point or your 100 grand spread price point, let's just say between 3 and 350 in Baldwin, there's 12 homes on the market. And also, then we look at what's under contract at the same time.
Under contract hasn't sold yet, right?
Yes, it's not closed yet, but it is under contract, and they're going through their motions of inspections and loans and that sort of thing. And let's say there's another 12 that's under contract.
Okay.
So of the 24 available,
Half of
12 are
Right.
under contract. That's a 50% under contract rate.
Okay.
So anything above 30% is a seller market.
Above 30.
Above 30%. So that's a strong seller market at 50%. Anything below 30 is a buyer, and balance is right around 30. You don't stay in balanced markets very long.
Right.
I mean, you really don't.
They're going up or
they're
down.
Like a blink of an eye.
Right.
A balanced market.
We've got a
still
third fewer homes for sale.
Third fewer homes for sale. Now in condos are now back to the 2019 level.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that market, that inventory's doubled in the last 2 years because of taxes and insurance and
HOA fees.
which causes the HOA fees to raise. So we're seeing a lot of HOA fees raise, and the condos are coming on the market a lot. That's starting to slow down. As at the rate that they've been coming on is starting to slow. And the condo market's still appreciating.
It's amazing. It's
Go
slowing
figure
down, but
that.
it's still appreciating.
Right, and so that's, so when we're looking for a shifting market, or, hey, what's the trend, appreciating, depreciating, we're also going to look at days on market.
So days on market are going to tell me how long it took to get my house sold.
Right.
Is that days between I put it on market and it's closed, or days between I put it on the market and it went under contract?
Days on market, so when I put it on the market and it went under contract.
Not closed, but under
Not
contract.
closed, but under contract, right.
Okay,
So
and-
how long is that? And right now in St. Louis, for January through July of 25, that's 30 days.
And that's
a very fast
very
moving
short
market.
time, yeah.
Most of ours are all going first weekend, but 30 days is the average, and that's a fast seller market.
And that's a good thing to bring up because we're seeing maybe nationally, they're talking about that's going higher, it's
going
slowing
slower.
down, they're not going as fast, but in St. Louis, they're still going fast.
Yeah, the national month supply is like 4.5. Ours is single family 2.5.
And really, you can't say, well, my aunt's house, it's set for 6 months, but my friend's house sold for 2 days. You're looking at all the data from the St. Louis metro area. And all this is micro data, and we can drill down to school districts, even subdivisions if you want. It's still not ones or twos.
Right. But
You're
we're
looking-
trying to get a little bit more in real time and not look like we used to, look so far back over the last 6 months or a year, because that's past data. What's going on right now? Well, that rate, under contract rate, is a real-time number. The other real-time number would be just the number of showings.
Ooh, that's an interesting one. So how many people
The
came
foot
in?
traffic.
How many people?
Right?
So how do they track that with the MLS? You have to register every time you show a home?
Yeah, it's most of it is online registering, so they can keep track of
Right.
it. It's kind of like the number of mortgage applications for you,
Sure,
right?
right.
You know, if you've got 50 mortgage applications, you're probably closing a lot next month or in
Yes.
the next 2 months.
Right.
But if you only have 10, then you're like, whoa, what just happened? You know, your foot traffic has slowed down, right?
So you look at how many
showings.
people came in and physically viewed the house until it went under contract.
Well, just how many are viewing, and then how many are viewing until you get a contract.
And the lower that number, the more competitive the market's going to be, right?
Well, no, you want that. Well, yeah, the lower to a contract.
Right.
That's true, but you want high number of showings.
Yeah.
If you don't get 10 to 20 and you're not in that 10 to 14 range, you may or may not get an offer. I've had some with just 5 showings, we get a great offer over asking all the things because people are still conditioned that things are going very quickly. Another thing that we look at is price reductions, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right, we look at those. The other thing that we're looking at really now is just affordability. So we're trying to look at the affordability number even to
That's
see.
a big one right now because the
Right?
taxes, not only the price of houses going up, the taxes, the insurance, the interest rates, it's making homes unaffordable.
Yeah, these are the things that start affecting the key metrics, right? So what affects these key metrics? Well, affordability, right? So at 150 score, St. Louis is very happy.
Right.
Well, everybody's very happy. Sellers are happy. Buyers are happy.
Do you know what all goes into that 150, or is that?
The affordability score, it's the percentage of the income that's needed to buy your home. Now, the other thing is the size of the first-time homebuyer pool affects these key metrics. So when we know that first-time homebuyer pool is really big, the size of the millennials is as big as baby boomers, and so is Gen Z.
Right.
And so these two big buyer pools and millennials has still not bought to the level they should be buying, or that baby boomers bought when they were there.
Well, the inventory there's a whole lot of things working against them. The inventory is low too. So we've got all these numbers. So how do these help you predict the future?
So right now we know, again, another thing that affecting the supply is just lack of inventory.
Right, we're not
building. And the
building.
reason we have lack of inventory, everyone's like, why is the inventory low? I don't understand. And it is because of that downturn where the builders went belly up. You know, you probably know.
I was there. Yes, I did. That was miserable.
They were caught holding the bag. A lot of them went bankrupt even. And so we didn't see a lot of building. Again, we need a million homes to keep up with household formation, and 1 million homes did not get built every year. Because this supply demand, they're only building at a rate of about 1 million to 1.1 million a year.
We're not catching up.
They're keeping up but not catching up. Right. And that's the problem. And so since we know supply is going to stay low, and we need these rates to come down a little bit, but as soon as rates come down,
it's going to bring more buyers in, isn't it?
You're going to see a big buyer pool, and you're going to see another increase in prices. These key metrics are what we're looking at to see if we're in sellers markets, buyers markets, or if it's starting to shift. And you need to know this when you're buying and when you're selling.
Of course,
right? And
how I'm going to price my house.
Again, if your agent's mimicking national news, it's not a good thing. You need to really drill down locally.
You got an amazing agent like Angie who studies these numbers, familiarizes herself, and then you use these numbers. You use them when you help people price their house. You use them to talk to buyers. But if I was to say, Marty McFly has come back from the future, I'm sure he would say, buy a house today.
Buy a house today.
Because it's not going to get cheaper.